أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. How are you, my dear girls? I hope you are fine and safe all the time. Inshallah, today we are going to practice answering some questions about Unit 4 Lesson 3, the lesson that we already took yesterday, and start one section from the new lesson 4. Okay, let us start together now. The booklet, page 10. Again, the booklet, page 10. Unit 4, lesson 3. Last time we talked about how early people lived. Here, question 1 is about how did early people live. Last time we said what? We said that they moved around a lot. Why? To hunt animals and gather wild plants. We said that they never stayed or settled in one place. Even they didn't build homes. Why they didn't build homes? Because they had no place to settle in. They had to move around a lot. Okay, question 2. When did these early people started to settle? When did they start to settle? Only 2,000 years ago. And what happened when they started to settle? They started to farm crops, grow plants, build homes in order to live in, and form villages. When they started to build homes and stay or live together, they started to form villages. That was the first time to change the environment. Also, they started to change the environment. Okay, do only people change the environment? No. Does nature change the environment? Yes, it does. How? Mention 4 ways. Tell me 4 ways in which the environment or the nature can change the environment. First one, natural disasters like hurricanes, tornadoes, and volcanoes. All these natural disasters can change the environment very quickly. 2, heavy rain can wash away the soil. Of course, you know, and you studied this in science before. You remember what you studied about weathering and erosion? Yeah, this is related to weathering and erosion in science. 3, wind blows sand dunes into different shapes all the time. This is another change done by weather or nature. 4, when rivers burst their banks and cause floods, this can cause a great change to the environment. So these are 4 ways in which the nature or the weather can change the environment. 6, do people change the environment? Of course, yes, people do change the environment. How? In the past, when people started to settle down 12,000 years ago, they started to grow crops and build homes and dig canals to let the water reach the faraway lands. That was a change. But nowadays, people can change the environment faster than they did in the past. How? Of course, the answer here, yes, they do. When they construct roads now, people can construct roads like this. Also, they can build houses and homes like this. This is a change. Can you imagine this place? Can you imagine this picture before all these skyscrapers were built? It was completely different. They clear land for crops and for to grow plants. Of course, you know that they destroy whole forests. They cut down the forests in order to use the wood from the trees and in order to clear the land for crops. Also, they dig in the earth to mine for gold and land or oil like this. Can you imagine how did this land look like before they make this oil refinery? It was completely different. Now they are digging, they are making an oil refinery to mine for oil. Here. Also, people try to build bigger cities. When cities grow big or grow bigger, this can cause a great change to the environment. Look here at these 2 pictures. In these pictures, in this column, changes done by people, good. And here, changes done by nature for the environment. So, these pictures show us that people and nature, both of them can change the environment. Like this, we finished Unit 4, Lesson 3. I hope you have understood this lesson very well. It's a very easy lesson. Now, we are going to start very small part from Lesson 4. It's a very small lesson. We will continue talking about changes to the environment. But today, we are not talking about changes done by nature or by people. No, we are going to talk about social and political changes. Only today we are going to talk about the political changes. Political changes means the changes related to what the people do when they divide the countries, when they wanted to control countries, and so on. Now, let us start. Maps change. How can maps change? Does the land change? No, the land does not change. But the way the people divide the land, this what make maps change. But of course, not the relief maps or the physical maps, but the political maps. The political maps that show countries. The political maps that show countries can change. Look, let us start together. On maps from long time ago, the shapes of the countries look quite different. The natural shape of the land stays the same. How? The mountains stay the same, the rivers stay the same, the deserts, the seas, the islands, all these things stay the same. But the political borders change. What's the meaning of the political borders? Borders are the edges of countries, the lines that show the edges of the countries. These borders, these political borders change. Why? As people divide up the land differently. Of course, you know that when the Prophet ﷺ was alive and when the Rashidun Caliphs were alive, the Muslim state was so big and not divided. But after some time, when the colonizers started to colonize the Middle East, they started to divide the land differently. Of course, we started World War I. You know what happened to the Middle East after World War I? Yeah, it became divided between France and Britain. And like this, all these divisions made the people draw more borders on the maps to show land, to show countries. All these are political changes, and these are what's the meaning of borders. Look here. In map A, the Middle East in 1600. Between the year 1500s and 1700s, the Ottoman, Turkish, and the Safavid empires ruled most of the Middle East. These two empires are so big. The Safavid Empire ruled the area we now call Iran. So Iran was an empire at that time. Also, as well as parts of Turkey and Georgia. The Safavid were Muslims. They were Muslims, and their capital city was Isfahan. We are talking about a map which shows the Middle East divided in two big empires. Only two big empires. Before this, it was one big empire ruled by the Rashidun Caliphs. Then it became divided between two big empires. The two empires were Muslims, but only two big empires means that the one piece of land that was so large became two pieces. Look here. Can you see here? Now it became more. Now we have more divisions. Why do we have more divisions here? Because between the years 1700s and 1800s, the Ottoman and Safavid empires lost territories, lost some parts to European colonizers. You know who are the European colonizers? Who were the main colonizers? Good girls, France and Britain. France and Britain and also Spain and Italy started to colonize, take parts from these two big empires, and that's why we have more colors and more divisions here. On map C, that one, the Middle East after World War I. Here we are talking about the Middle East after World War I. Of course, you know that after World War I that ended in 1918, the Middle East was divided between France and Britain. For the first time, the Middle East started to have smaller countries. How many are they? 42 countries formed the League of Nations. France and Britain divided the Middle East into nation states. The League of Nations allocated mandates to France and Britain to rule these nation states until the international community granted them independence. Here, the Middle East was divided between France and Britain in smaller countries. They continued to control them for about 100 years until they struggled in order to take their freedom or independence. Independence here means freedom. Can you see How many more colors do we have? More colors means more division, more change in the political map of the Middle East. That one on map, we still that this map D. Map G refers to the current map, the borders, the current border or the current map for the Middle East. We can say that it is the most modern one, but of course we have more changes that are not recorded here yet. This map shows the current borders. The current border means the nowadays borders for the Middle East. Some regions are still struggling for independence. Their borders are shown with a dotted line. If you look carefully, the dotted line is referring to our dear Palestine or Palestine. They are still struggling for their independence. Can you see how more countries, how more borders? Can you see these lines that separate the countries? These are the borders. These are the borders. Now, can you feel the political change in the Middle East? Yeah, inshallah. Next time we are going to talk about the social change in the Middle East. Here we have the main points of the lesson. Social and political changes, lesson 4. Now we are going to talk about the political changes. On maps from a long time ago, the shapes of the countries look different. Who can tell me why? Yeah, because people divide up the land differently. So why? Why do the shapes of the countries look different? Because people divide up the land differently. Oh, when people divide up the land, how they do this? They add what? Borders. What are the borders? Borders are edges of a country. Edges of a country. They are shown on the political maps in dotted lines like this around the countries. The Middle East. Here we are going to talk about the Middle East and how the political map of the Middle East was changed, and you will feel this change so much. Look here on this page. Can you see here? This is the first map. The Middle East was only all this dark color and that part here. Here is the Middle East. Can you see only 2 colors? Here we have more colors. Here more colors. Here more colors and more borders. Every time we add more borders, it means that we have more divisions and more change in the political map of the Middle East. Let us talk here. Like map A, this is map A. Between the year 1500s and 1700s, the Ottoman and the Safavid empires ruled the Middle East. That one, the Safavid Empire, which is now called Iran, the Ottoman Empire, which is Turkey, or the Turkish people. They controlled the Middle East. Then, later, that what is shown, or as shown in the second map B, in the years 1700s and 1800s, these 2 empires, the Safavid Empire and the Ottoman Empire, lost territories for the European colonizers, especially France and Britain. And the third one, the map of the Middle East after World War I, of course you know that, in 1919 or after World War I, the Middle East was divided between Britain and France. Now, or at that time, 42 countries were formed. Can you see? The Middle East was never before 42 countries. It was one piece only, one united nation or one united state. But now we are more countries divided and separated from each other. Finally, that one here. Near our age, or in the modern age after the year 2000 or by the year 2000, most countries of the Middle East had got their independence or freedom and became free countries ruled by their own people. But still, one country is still struggling for their independence. That one, dear Palestine. Okay, you know which one now? Okay, you can see the current borders of the Middle East in map C. Map C show us the current and the recent borders of the Middle East. But do the changes, or will the changes stop like that? Will the political map stay like this? No. We expect more changes for the political map for the whole world, not only the Middle East. Why again? Because all the time people do what? Divide up the land differently. Alhamdulillah, I finished the part that I want you to understand today from lesson 4. I hope you have understood the lesson. After you watch this video, please try to listen or to read the lesson again at home. I uploaded the answer for the booklet. That page, I uploaded it on Classera. You can print it from the course material. This page, you can print it from the course material. Read the lesson, study the questions, try to do the homework, and I will be waiting for you in the discussion room after a few minutes. If you have any question or if you have any problem, you can ask me. I will be there for your help. Thanks for your listening. Goodbye till meet again.